Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Tips and Tools. Today we are going to look at active learning using shared content in Collaborate Ultra. So active learning is when you have a learning activity in which your student's an active participant and interacts with the learning process as opposed to passively taking in information. A lot of professors like using a lecture format, and there's a way to do this and keep the learning active by either having students interact with the lecture content itself or by breaking up the lecture content with activities as you see in this image. By preparing in advance and then stopping every 10 minutes or so, allowing the students to have an activity, you will also get feedback and they'll be able to get feedback as well as to whether they're taking the information in correctly and have full understanding of the concepts you're presenting. Benefits of active learning: it increases your engagement in courses, the students are more present, increases their motivation, it increases the retention. Are they really getting the information by acting with the content, not just passively receiving content? They retain the information better. It also gives them immediate feedback as well as you. It improves critical thinking and interpersonal skills. And when they're working together actively in this class, it also adds to the sense of community within your classroom. So we're going to look at a couple active learning techniques that you can use by sharing tools in the classroom and how these tools will work. You'll have interactive lectures, brainstorming, and pausing for reflection. These are a long list of active learning techniques that you can use from simple to complex um, in order to get the students learning more actively in your class. So the following are the tips and tools that will help you with sharing and interacting with content. First tips: prepare and set up the content prior to the session. That's going to prevent you from having the time during class taken up while you get something ready. You also have tools within Ultra that will help you get those feedback and cues for the students. And make sure, especially if you're high flex, that you're engaging participants in person as well as at a distance. And these tools will help you do that. And you want to use tools that you have at your disposal, like embedded content in BlazeView and OneDrive that all the VSU students have access to, in order to give all students equal access to shared content. And then lastly, you want to make sure and connect the activities that they're doing to the learning outcomes. So when you introduce the activity, make sure they know what it has to do with the lesson and why you're having them do it. The tools we will look at today will be whiteboard, images, PDFs, and PowerPoint slides using the Share Content panel in Collaborate Ultra. To access our shared content tools, we will go to the Collaborate panel and click on the Share Content icon. And our first one would be the whiteboard. So we click Share Blank Whiteboard, and you will use this to interact with your students the same way you would a whiteboard in a face-to-face classroom. You can have students type, you can have students draw figures, draw freehand, point to items, or select items. We're going to look at an image. So I've found an image of our campus. The good thing with images is you can help students see them a little better because it has a zoom feature. But students can also interact with the drawings. You can have them point with the hand. If you want them to point out something specific, you can have them draw on the image. You can have them type on the image to identify items. In this way, the students aren't just being presented with an image, but they're able to work on top of the image as well. Our next interactive tool would be a PDF. I have loaded this worksheet. We can go to one-to-one, and if you've had groups working together for something like this, you can then have the presenter for the group come out and have group 1, 2, and 3 present the information, and they can type it for this comparison between book and film. We'll say chapter 1, and they can all be working on this at the same time in their allotted quadrant or area. And scene 1 over here, if they've missed their area, they can move it. And again, the same tools that work with a whiteboard and an image work just the same here. Okay, when groups 1, 2, and 3 are done, groups 4, 5, and 6 can work because you can clear it and have the next group come up and complete that as well. Another way to use PDFs in Ultra would be to share your application. So a neat trick that I learned from one of our professors would be to share it and still be able to draw on it if you have a multi-page PDF and you want it to hold the content that you've drawn on it. You can go in your folder, you can right-click your PDF, and you can open it with Microsoft Edge. When you do this, it'll look like this. And Microsoft Edge has drawing tools and highlighting tools, so I've found this little geometry worksheet. So if you want to work on these problems with your students and have the answer save, so if they have drawn here and you've written here, then you can go to page 2 and it will save it. Okay. And you can go back, compare what they wrote with the actual answers, but it doesn't lose it. So the one thing with PDFs, if you share a PDF and it has multiple pages in Ultra, it will only write on that page while it's up, and it will lose it when it goes to the second page. So this is a way around that if you have a multi-page PDF and you want to save what's written on it between pages. So thanks to the professor who found this neat little tool. So the last item we're going to look at are PowerPoints. So again, a PowerPoint can be shared in here. And how do you make this interactive? All right, you go to a slide where you're asking the students for feedback. And you have a poll feature right here. And beforehand is helpful to save this so it's ready to go. You can put up to 5 answers. And then start the poll. And you can see if your students are following in the content. You can see by having your attendee panel, you can see what they've answered as well. So you see who's following along, who might not understand something. You can see if there are different opinions and check with different groups. But this way you can get the feedback during that lecture by putting in a slide with a poll to get that feedback, which you would then follow up on to clarify information. Or if students have opinions that you've asked for an opinion, you can launch some discussion that way, and it'll make the class more active and less passive. I will be uploading this PowerPoint with these additional references that you can review for more information on active learning. And if you have any questions for information or assistance, please contact us at the Center for eLearning.